I'm always thinking about that worst case scenario and how big of an impact that can be on my clients. If you have to use the policy, it's going to make the whole process a lot smoother for you.
David, thank you so much for joining me on the Broker's Hot Seat today. I'm excited to have you here. Grateful you came and spend the time with us today.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure, Caden. I enjoy talking with different individuals and value resource where I can.
Yeah, we're excited to hear about your expertise in the industry. You talk a lot about bringing clarity to insurance. What does that actually look like for you with a real conversation with one of your clients?
Yeah, awesome question, Caden. I appreciate it. When it comes to bringing clarity to insurance and what it looks like for me and my clients, a lot of it is really just answering the questions and walking through a policy and saying, hey, this is how things are and this is how they will work if you have to use the policy. So I try to keep it real simple and straightforward and try to be that bridge of, this is policy language and this is, common English.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I know one thing that is always, in that realm of clarity is the price versus coverage conversation. And many people like to focus on the price over the coverage. What kind of risks does that create long term?
Well, it definitely creates a risk of frustration if you have to use the policy and it doesn't work the way you think it's supposed to because you focused on price versus coverage. Obviously, in a perfect world, every quote we put out, we can get better coverage and better pricing, but we don't live in a perfect world. So sometimes you have to put out the information of, hey, these are the coverages that are really important. And based off of what you and I have talked about, I think it makes a lot of sense for you to go with this package or this policy because if you have to use it, it's going to make the whole process a lot smoother for you and more of what you're looking for.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess a additional question to go along with that is, how do you balance giving the clients the best deal versus the best protection? Like what sort of things go through your mind as the agent when thinking through that?
Yeah, so as the agent, I'm always thinking about that worst case scenario and how big of an impact that can be on my clients. So we always have that conversation. And then we always want to check that some of the more common claims situations are discussed, and especially with homes in Minnesota. We have hail as one of the big claim situations, so they understand what their roof coverage and their deductible are going to be. And while we don't always have complete control over that, because carriers are starting to dictate based off coverage A, you have to have these deductibles, or based off of roof age, you get replacement cost or not kind of stuff, right? So, and that plays right into the price conversation. Well, if you want replacement cost, well, this carrier offers it, but it's going to be a bit more. Is that something that you guys are able to swing?
Yeah, yeah, and the reason why I ask so much about, cost with you specifically, with your background as a financial advisor, I'm sure that gives you a huge advantage in the industry.
Oh,
So tell me a little bit about how that background influences you to help build insurance strategy for families.
yeah, absolutely, Caden. So that background really, as a financial advisor, I was a more of a defensive advisor. So I wanted to make sure that my clients were protected against those worst case scenarios. So I'm definitely an advocate for the higher liability limits. I see most agents writing at like 300,000 just as an example for the home. I write all mine at 500. If you get sued, the $100 a year maybe that costs on the home for that extra 200,000 of liability, worth it every time. So that defensive mindset certainly plays into that. And then it also opens up the conversation real easily to, well, we just saved you a few $100. Or actually, I literally had one last week. I saved the guy enough money where if he was working 40 hours a week, I just gave him a $3.28 an hour pay raise.
Well, that's awesome.
So it's
That's
like
great. Yeah.
6,000 some dollars I saved the guy. That opens up the conversation of life insurance, disability insurance, just putting some money into savings, or not savings, but like a retirement account or something, right? And having that broader picture helps the clients look at it more as a holistic tool instead of just something they have to have because they have a car loan or they have a mortgage on their house.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's great that you're able to see that real life application. Sounds like you're still kind of in a mixture of both worlds there, helping people, you know, make more hourly, a little bit of that financial planning side and strategizing, and still doing that through insurance policies. So, and I noticed, that you made that pivot to insurance from financial planning after a personal tragedy that reshaped your outlook on things. And so I imagine that you have a little bit of a personal testimony of how insurance can come into play. How has that changed your approach to financial planning and insurance today?
Yeah, so I have a good handful of testimonies on that front. The initial one happened back in 2015, and it was a loss of life of one of my best friends and his father, which was like 3 weeks before my wedding. So that was an up and down month. What that pushed me towards, though, was the insurance focus. When it comes to financial planning, I do it more on the insurance side of things. Okay. Anything more retirement lined down the retirement line, I send that off to a financial advisor, right? If you already have one, great. Let's send it back to your guy. Otherwise, obviously, I have connections in the industry. They'll set up the retirement plans and that kind of stuff. Let's just make sure everything's jiving together. So, really, it's more of I want to focus on making sure that when those worst case scenarios happen, we're properly taken care of.
What are some of the accomplishments that you're the most proud of that have happened at Clarity Insurance?
I'm proud to say that, I've grown from a one-man agency to two-man agency. The other thing is we've had year-over-year growth. We're still growing by large percentages.
If someone is looking for an insurance agent, why should they work with Clarity Insurance over maybe someone else?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think people should work with Clarity Insurance, one, because of the approach that we take. Like, it is really to make sure that they understand the policy and what they're getting. And we are building into a bigger picture of how does this play into your life and just the thought process behind all that, the connections that we have within the agency. If we have people that are more self-defense minded, there's gaps in the homeowner's policy that we're able to fill because of some of the contracts that we have that are very unique to our agency.
What are some ways that you feel like maybe the rest of the industry gets that wrong?
Well, I think the biggest one that I've heard from the clients I've brought on is their agent just doesn't talk to them. Right.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying as an agent, I talk to all my clients every week. Like it's not possible. But it doesn't take much to set up a newsletter or, reach out 2 months before their renewal and just say, or 45 days, 60 days before renewal, and just say, hey, this is what we're finding. Do you want us to reshop you, or maybe we already reshopped you and this is what we found. So I think just some basic communication really brings a good personal touch to it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. And I can tell that, you have that personal relationship with your clients. Again, just some of the things you said today, some of the background research I've done. You're someone who has experienced the importance of insurance in your own personal life. And it's something that you have moved away from financial planning to insurance to share that with others. And really appreciate you being here today and sharing that with everyone listening. Last question that I have for you. If, someone is in need of home, auto, commercial insurance, what's the best way for them to reach out and get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'd say go through the website, clarityinsuranceteam.com. That's a real easy way of doing it.
Awesome. That is everything that I had, David. It was wonderful to meet you, and we appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Thank you, Caden. It's been a pleasure.